Okay, Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you for joining. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We'll chant some Mangalcharan prayers and then we'll start. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनाशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं सतं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्त नमस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीननारायणं परमानन्दमाधवं कृष्णचैतन्य ईश्वरम् गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः हरि बोल हरे कृष्णा okay so everyone is eager to hear the story today. Okay, so hopefully this will be new for everyone, so we're not but even if you're hearing it again, it's all nectar. You can drink nectar more than once, many times. uh, Nirbhay Prabhu, can you lower the volume, or is it Nabya? Hare Krishna. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so this story is about the value of hearing, or about the value of attending Srimad Bhagavatam class. Okay, so this story is many thousands of years back. It's about 2 to 3,000 years back. Okay, so this is after the time of Krishna, of course. It's still in Kali Yuga, but several thousand years back. Okay, so and this is a story that happened in South India. Okay, there was a Brahman there, a Vaishnava actually, and this Vaishnava belonged to the Sri Sampradaya. As you know that Vaishnavas, there are different Sampradayas. We belong to the Brahma Gaudiya Sampradaya, right? Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. But there is also Sri Sampradaya, and all are serving Krishna only, but just in different rasas, different tastes, different mellows, right? So this is a story of one of the Brahman from Sri Sampradaya. He was, very young. He was new. He was still learning about how to serve Krishna, how to serve devotees, and he was still in the beginning stage of self-realization. Okay. So once in South India, he visited this temple. Okay. And in the temple, there was a class going on. It was a Srimad Bhagavatam class going on. Okay. The class was from 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. Now, kids have recently heard this story. This comes in 10th canto, about chapter 40. Okay. This is the story when Krishna and his friends and Balram, they go to Mathura from Vrindavan. Akrura comes to take them from Vrindavan, and all the Vrajvasis, their hearts are broken. All the gopis are completely torn. Yashoda Maiya and Nand Maharaj are also lamenting. Everybody's in a very lamenting mood in Vrindavan, and Akrura comes at the and gives the invite of Kamsa to Krishna. He says that I've come to invite you to Mathura. So Krishna, Balram, Nand Maharaj, and some of the Gopas are going to Mathura. Okay, this is the Bhagavatam class that this Brahman is listening to. Okay, so let's go back now. Let's go back to 5,000 years ago when this was going on, when Krishna visited Mathura. So what happened then? If you know, and I know the kids know this because you recently learned this in the class of His Grace Gaurang Darshan Prabhu, that when Krishna visited Mathura, he met a number of people there, right? So if you all remember, he met this lady called Kubja. You remember? All of you know that, right? He met Kubja, right? She was her spine was crooked. She had some kind of affliction, some kind of disease with which her spine was bent, and so she could not walk straight. This was a lady Kubja. So that was one lady they met, one person. So let's start here. And remember, Brahman is listening to this class, okay? So let's listen to this class as well. What happened when Krishna visited Mathura, and then we'll see what happened with the Brahmana. So when Krishna when Kubja saw Krishna and Balram, uh, it was the occupation, it was the job of Kubja to make these very, very fragrant pastes and oils, like how we have essential oils these days. So similarly, there used to be pastes and different kind of fragrant oils made of different flowers that Kubja used to sell. And mostly those were meant for very rich people or like the courtesans of Kamsa or for Kamsa himself, right? She would make different kind of paste, sandalwood paste and so many other kind of paste that will make the body very beautiful, right? And oils also that will make the body beautiful and fragrant. As soon as she saw Krishna and Balram, she immediately offered those pastes and oils to them. She said, these are the people, this is Krishna. I want to offer this to this most handsome, charming boy, because they had all, Mathura Vasis had all heard about Krishna. They knew the glories of Krishna from Vrindavan, right? How he had killed so many demons sent by Kamsa. So she immediately offered it to them. And this is nothing new for her. This is her job. She was whatever she was doing daily, she was just offering the same thing just to Krishna now, right? At a great risk to herself that she did not deliver it to Kamsa or his courtesans that day, but gave it all to Krishna and Balram, right? And Krishna was very satisfied with her service, and he, as you know, that he actually touched her, and she was able to stand straight. She was able to walk normally. So that was one person he met. Then he met like a weaver, somebody who makes cloths and fabrics. Okay, he used to make again very very beautiful clothes and garments for rich people, for Kamsa and for other rich merchants of the town of Mathura. Right, Mathura was a big town. There it was full of merchants and very very rich people that used to reside there. So he used to make clothes for them. This man also, this weaver, as soon as he saw Krishna, he immediately offered, these clothes to Krishna and his friends, Gopas, and to Lord Balram, right? So that was another person. Now remember, all these people, what are they doing? They're following the principle of Bhagavad Gita, right? Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachiti tadam bhakti uparatam ashnami pratatmana, right? So Krishna, as he was accepting these offerings from these people, from these devotees who were giving it just with love, right, without anything demanding anything back at all, he was instilling devotion in their heart, right? They were already devotees, but they were becoming pure devotees now. So in this way, they were fulfilling the same principle that Krishna has taught us in Bhagavad Gita. That whatever you do for me. So they were doing, this was part of their routine activities, and whatever they were doing, they were just now offering to Krishna. Now Krishna, so this was second person Krishna met in Mathura, and then Krishna went to the house of a devotee. Okay, and you all are very very familiar with this devotee. So he was not invited into the house because the devotee was just inside the house. He did not even know that Krishna and Balram and his friends and Nand Maharaj have come to visit Mathura. So he did not know that Krishna is in the town. But Krishna decided to pay him a visit. he went to the house, very small hut of this devotee who was very, very poor, had nothing, he lived hand to mouth. Like whatever he would make that day, he would buy food for his family and the money would be gone. So he had no savings or nothing saved in his house, nothing. He had nothing, no comforts, just a grass mat or straw mat on the floor that anybody could sit on or sleep on. Very, very, meager way of living. So Krishna came to the house of this devotee. And you know the name of this devotee, right? Kids do? Who can tell the name of this devotee that Krishna visited? Navya knows. Yes. Let me ask somebody. Navya, I know you know. Let's ask Vaidehi. Go ahead.
This one is the florist one, right, Mataji?
This one is
Sudama?
the? Yes. This is Sudama. Yes, I know you guys know the name of this devotee. This is Sudama. Okay, so now don't confuse this Sudama with the famous Sudama story, that the Sudama that went to Dwarkadish, right? This is not that Sudama. Okay, in Krishna Leela there are three Sudamas. Please listen carefully. The three Sudamas that are Krishna's friends, okay, or devotees. The first Sudama is the Sudama from who's a Gopa, who is in Vrindavan, right? With whom Krishna plays and does many pastimes, right? They play together as Gopas. So you know there are many Gopas, right? Madhu Mangal, Sudama, Sridama, right? And some many other Gopas. So there is that one Sudama. This is second Sudama, the one that Krishna met in Mathura. So one is in Vrindavan, the other is in Mathura. Mathura Sudama is a Brahman, he's a devotee, okay? And actually not a Brahman, sorry. He's a very poor man and he's a devotee. He's in Mathura. The third Sudama is the one that went to visit Krishna when he was in Dwarka. And that Sudama is the one who was Krishna's classmate in Sandipni Muni's ashram. Okay? So remember that Krishna, after all this, will go to Sandipni Muni's ashram, accept him as spiritual master, and take many lessons. All this, it's said that he learned all the 64 arts of different things in that ashram. So in that ashram, he had a classmate called Sudama. Right? This Sudama came to visit Krishna in Dwarka. Okay, so don't confuse with that one. This is the second Sudama that Krishna met in Mathura. Okay, so he went to the house of this poor devotee. Now this Sudama is a garland maker. Okay, everybody knows that. Kids know that. I think that he's a garland maker, right? He used to pick flowers and then make very beautiful garlands to offer to the either the deities in the temples nearby in Mathura, or to the court of Kamsa, various people that were being honored and various deities that were being offered flowers. They will all get flower garlands from this man called Sudama. So he used to make beautiful flower garlands. Okay. So when Krishna and Gopas and everybody came that day to his house has nothing. He has nothing to offer to them. He has nothing. He has, he offered them seat on a straw mat. That's it. He offered them some water, but he has no food to offer to them, right? He has no oils and fragrant paste to put on their body. Nothing. So the only thing he did have was the garlands that he had made that day. He would wake up early in the morning and start making garlands, fresh flower garlands, to offer to deities for the artis and for other people for that day. So he had many garlands saved for that day. Okay. So he offered all those garlands to Krishna and his friends, to Nand Maharaj, to Lord Balram, to everybody. He offered all those garlands. And again, Krishna was very, very pleased. He was so pleased. Krishna was if you offer Krishna something, yes, he's pleased. But this Sudama not only offered Krishna something, but he also offered his devotees and Lord Balram, the Guru, something. So we are not only supposed to always offer to Krishna, to worship Krishna's deity. We also have to worship the lotus feet of the devotees and the gurus, the Guru Tattvas and the other Vaishnavas as well. And Krishna is even more pleased. So this person, Krishna was most pleased out of everybody that he had met, because he had not only offered something to Krishna but also to everybody that was there. So all his garlands for that day were gone. He had nothing to offer to anybody else that day. because he had made some for the town and now they were all gone. So Krishna said, please ask me for some benediction. Okay, I want to give you something. Okay. Um, and this is what he asked. Okay, and this is what we have to ask. So please remember these three things. These are the three perfect things that he asked from Krishna, because everybody, we hear this question many many times when we pray to Krishna, what should we ask for, right? Mundane, if people are karmi or into sense gratification, then they are doing business deals with Krishna. You give me a car, you give me a house, please give me a promotion, please give me a child, or please make my child top the class, whatever, various kind of right materialistic things that we ask for. But no, those are not the things to ask from Krishna. When Krishna is standing in front of him, these are the three things Sudama asked. And please, you can, if you want to note down, these are the three best things to ask from Krishna. Okay. So he said, Krishna, please please bless me so that I always have most loving, most beautiful relationships with your devotees. That I'm never at any kind of argument or trouble or at any kind of animosity, adversity with your devotees. Give me the most beautiful, loving relationship with your devotees. Okay, that is number one thing he asked. So imagine the value of our relationships with the devotees around us. That is what he valued. Right? That is the number one thing to ask for. Even better than Krishna Prem, because Krishna Prem will follow. But what did he say? He said, give me the best, most loving, most dear relationships with your devotees. Okay. That is number one. Number two thing he asked for, give me your pure devotional service, right? He was already a devotee, but he said, give me the pure devotional service, the Kevalya Bhakti, right? Not Mishrit Bhakti, but the where Ananya Bhakti, where it is uninterrupted, unmotivated devotional service towards you, where no matter what time, place, circumstance, I can always remember you. I may never forget you. Give me your pure devotional service. That is the second thing he asked for. And then the third thing he asked for was, please give me compassion and mercy towards all living entities. Give me compassion towards all living entities. The concept that we very well know as Jeev Daya, right? That I may never harm any other living entity. I may never exploit or cause problems to any other living entities. Compassion towards other living entities. Okay, Jeev Daya. So, and you know that Mahaprabhu has also given us these three teachings, right? The first is to have loving relationships with our other devotees or with other Vaishnavas, right? Vaishnav Seva, basically. Number two was pure devotional service, or he gave it as Nam Ruchi. If we have constant attraction towards the name, then we'll get the pure devotional service, right? So, Nam Ruchi. And the third was Jitaya, or compassion towards all living entities. So basically, loving relationship with Krishna, loving relationship with his devotees, and loving relationship with all living entities that are there. Right? Three best things to ask from Krishna. And Krishna was so pleased with him that he gave all these three benedictions to that poor man called Sudama, his devotee, okay, the garland maker. And why? Why did he give this? Because he offered garland to Krishna, and Krishna was very pleased. So this is the Bhagavatam class that this Brahman, okay, the name of that Brahman, by the way, I forgot to mention, the name of that Brahman was Vishnu Chitta. Vishnu Chitta is hearing this Bhagavatam class in a temple in South India, okay, from 10th canto. He has heard this much so far, okay. The class is going on, but he has heard this much so far. When he heard this is the point that stuck with him. What was the point? The point was that Krishna is pleased when you offer him a garland. This is the point that stuck with this man. When you offer him a garland, Krishna is so pleased that he would give you all these benedictions where you can be compassionate to everybody, where you can have loving relationship with him and his devotees. This one point stuck with him. He left the class and he decided that day that I am going to be a garland maker. Okay, this Vishnu Chitta. And he had a knack of he had a green thumb, like our Lalita Mataji had a green thumb. He knew how to grow the best kind of flowers. He knew how to make the best type of fresh flowers that would be very pleasing to Krishna. He had a knack of making garlands. So at this point, that everybody can just offer what they have, what they can do best, that one skill that one has, we can offer that in the service of Krishna, and Krishna will be so pleased. This point stuck with him. And he decided that I'm going to start making beautiful garlands for Krishna. So then he went home. Behind his cottage, he started cultivating a beautiful garden that was full of he started planting different type of flowers, very colorful, beautiful. He will uh, nourish them all day. He'll take care of them, de-weed them, do the whole thing the whole day. And early morning, he would pick flowers, he would make garlands. And he had this deity of Vishnu that he would offer the garlands to. Every day, he would offer very beautiful garlands to that deity of Vishnu that he had. Okay. So in this way, his life was going on, and he's basically doing his, if you think about it, it is the same kind of service that Shabri was doing, right? Just keeping the ashram clean every day, the same thing, without expecting anything, with just patience, just doing the same thing every day, same thing every day. Just getting up in the morning, cleaning the ashram, bringing some berries or something in case Lord Ram comes, right? And then chanting the name of Lord Ram the whole time. Similarly, this Vishnu Chitta was also just doing the same thing every day. The best thing that he knew, the best skill that he had, he cultivated the garden, planted the flowers, made the flower garden every day and offered to Vishnu every day. And in this way, his pure devotion, he had become a pure devotee. He was reading scriptures also. He had developed knowledge. Krishna, when you serve him, he gives intelligence from within, right? So he was developing knowledge. His love for Vishnu, his love for that deity was just unsurpassable, right? He was completely submerged in the pure, unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. Now, one day, what happened in that town? That town was ruled by a king, right? That kingdom was ruled by a king. Now, the king had a hankering that I want a spiritual master. He told his courtiers that find me a guru, somebody who can. I have no knowledge of the scriptures. Find me somebody who will teach me something about scriptures, right? It happens in everybody's life. We have seen in our life, right? You're karmi, you're materialistic to certain point, and then comes a point when you realize that the this material world is just completely frustrating. This is not our place. This is not our true destination. So everybody gets that hankering for self-realization and to find that true goal and purpose of life. So the king also had that hankering. And he instructed his courtiers that find me a guru. So they said, okay, what we will do is we will do a contest, and we'll call all the learned brahmanas or pandits around the kingdom, and we'll have a contest, and whoever wins that contest can be your guru. So they spread the message everywhere that king is looking for a guru. All the learned brahmanas, please come this day and show your prowess at the scriptures, show your intelligence, show your recite your verses or whatever you impress the king. So in this way, many brahmanas came. Now, obviously, Vishnu Chitta had no such interest in any of these kind of endeavors, right? He did not have any uh, wish to please the king or anything like that. He just wanted to serve his deity with garlands. But he had, and you will see this in scriptures, in many stories, and kids may already know many stories where a devotee has such a beautiful relationship with the deity that he's serving, and how the deity will reciprocate with him, right? How the deity, how Krishna will start reciprocating through that deity with the devotee, right? So many stories there are. So this deity of Vishnu that he was serving told him that you need to take up this task and go to the king and show your and try to become his guru. Okay, show your scriptural knowledge and all this, and try to become his guru. So the and Vishnu Chitta cannot go against the instruction of Vishnu, so he agreed, and it was the same day that the contest was going to happen when this instruction was given to him. So he was in the garden, he was making these flowers, and he was all mitti lagi hui hai. His clothes were soiled. He had no proper and nice clothes to go in front of king. But however, he went. He just wanted to please Vishnu, so he just went. And there, many brahmanas had assembled, right? They were so good looking, like they were dressed so nicely. They had nice tilak, kanthimala. They had such beautiful clothes, ironed and everything, and they were looking washed, right? Whereas this man comes who looks not washed, and his clothes are dirty and disheveled and everything. So he showed up in the court of the king, and king started the contest. So everybody presented their knowledge. They started engaging in various discussions and philosophical exchanges, and many verses were being shared and all this. And then came the turn of Vishnu Chitta. So now, when Vishnu Chitta started speaking, he's not speaking philosophically. He was not speaking the verses. He was not speaking dry knowledge, right? This man is a pure, unalloyed devotee of the Lord, and he had real realizations. He had true realizations. He's not saying something imaginative. He's not saying something that is fantasy. He's saying something that is very real, close to his heart, that he engages in every single day. He is reciprocating with the Lord, right? So he has real realizations of his own that he can share, and that is what he started sharing. He started sharing the pure knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam, of Krishna's pastimes, right? He's not talking about philosophy, he's talking about Krishna's pastimes. He's talking about his realizations with the Lord. And when he spoke, it was so beautiful, so nectarian, that it not only spellbound the king, but it also spellbound all the courtiers in that room and the learned brahmanas that had come. The brahmanas were amazed at his the depth of knowledge and his realizations and his reciprocations with the deity. So everybody agreed, all of them agreed that this man Vishnu Chitta needs to be the spiritual master of the king. That no doubt, um, this man is the only one who's capable, who has the authority to be the spiritual master of the king. So in this way, Vishnu Chitta became the spiritual master of the king. Okay. He was being, he was honored and whatnot. And then king told him that, king said that I will offer you a place in my palace. If you want to live in this palace, I'll give you a room, and please give me a Bhagavatam class every day. I want to hear from you every day, so that I can also become a pure devotee of the Lord. But Vishnu Chitta, he had no interest in living in the palace. So he said, I will live in my cottage, but yes, I will come and give Bhagavatam class to you and your family, and share all that I know with you. But I cannot stop serving my deity, because living in the palace means to stop serving the deity. He would be living in great comforts, right? In the palace, he would be served by the king's people, who would make food for him, who would give him comfortable bed to sleep on, comfortable furniture, whatnot. But he will not be able to serve his deity. He will not be able to perform the same loving service of offering a garland every day that he was performing. So this was not acceptable to Vishnu Chitta. So he said, I'll live in my cottage, but I will come every day and teach you Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this way, Vishnu Chitta kept on. He accepted king as the disciple, and his life was going on in a same fashion. Now one day, it was a Vyas Puja day. Vyas Puja, when it's Guru's birthday, and king was so much in love with his guru. He revered his guru so much that he wanted to honor him with as much pomp and aplomb as he can. He wanted to show his guru to the whole town He was so proud of his guru. He was so much in love with him. So what did he do? He said, we will have a procession for you in the whole town. So he got an elephant and he had Vishnu Chitta sit on the elephant and he carried out this procession with great, with gaje baje and all through the whole town that this is my guru, it's his birthday celebration. Everybody was given prasadam that day, all the people came to see this spiritual master of the king going around the town on this elephant. As Vishnu Chitta was going on, he was sitting on top of this elephant and going. He's always meditating on his Lord, right, on his deity. And what happened? Suddenly he saw that Lord Vishnu came. Nobody else saw, but Lord Vishnu on Garuda came, and he is also flying next to the elephant is going, and Lord Vishnu is flying next to the elephant on his Garuda. And Vishnu Chitta said, what are you doing here? Oh my Lord, what are you doing here? He said, Vishnu Chitta, you are my pure devotee. I just came to celebrate your birthday. I came to honor you on this occasion when everybody's celebrating you. So I wanted to see what is being done. So I came. So Vishnu Chitta, he had such a he had this relationship where he was in Vatsalya mood with the deity. So he told he told Lord Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, you know this materialistic world, this world is not good for gentlemen. Prabhupada said this, right? This place is not meant for gentlemen. This material world is not meant for gentlemen. Same thing he said to Vishnu. This place is not for gentlemen. Why have you come here? This place is full of anarthas. You need to go back to Godhead. So, this is God Himself, and He's telling him, "You go back to Godhead. Why have you come from Vaikuntha? Huh? Don't come to this material world. Everybody who comes here gets entangled. Go back to your Vaikuntha." So he's scolding him. He's scolding Vishnu. Go back. Why have you come here? Don't come here. I am very worried about you. This place is not fit for gentlemen. This is the exact same thing Prabhupada said to us, right? This material world is not fit for gentlemen. He said the same thing to Lord Vishnu. This is in complete Vatsalya ras, right? So he was scolding him, go back. So anyway, so in this way, his life was going very well. And then one day, another reciprocation. I'm just sharing what different reciprocations happening. So if you realize, we are just sharing various reciprocations that were happening from the Lord. Okay. Because I know that all of you, we can become impatient. Why are we not seeing any reciprocation? But if you are a sincere, pure devotee like Vishnu Chitta, you will see reciprocations happening with you too. So, as you heard, the first reciprocation was that he became spiritual master of the king himself. Then the next reciprocation you saw, and there were many, but these are the ones that are mentioned most. The second was that Lord himself came to celebrate his Vyas Puja. And then this is the biggest reciprocation that happened from the Lord. So please listen very carefully what Lord did for him. So one day he was gardening, as usual, he was planting his flowers and taking care of them in the garden, right? And under one of the plants, he saw a little beautiful small baby girl, very small little baby, like a newborn baby girl. When he saw this little baby, he was very confused. How did she get there? But he picked her up, he took her inside and started taking care of her. Right? This was the prasad. He realized that this is the prasad of my Lord. This is the daughter that has been given to me to take care of. Okay, so he took her and he started taking care of her, and he named her. And all of you or most of you may know this name, very very famous devotee. Her name was Andal. Okay, so has anybody heard of this name before, Andal? Maybe Sheetal Mataji might know, or Nana Prabhu. So,
No, Mataji, I've not heard.
so Mataji, she is one of the 12.
Mataji, is she?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah,
Mataji, is she one of, like, I've heard of her being like worshipped in many temples. Is it same Andal? Like
Yes, Mataji,
a
yes.
lady goddess?
Yes, Mataji, this is the
Yeah.
same Mandal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, pretty famous down south.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, Mataji, that's her. Yeah, so she's basically, so you have heard of Alvars, right? Shital
Oh,
Mataji,
she's one of the Alvas?
she's one of the 12 Alvars, Mataji. She's the only
Okay.
female Alvar.
Yeah.
So, Alvars were these great devotees of the Lord in South India about 2 to 3,000 years back, who started or who propagated the Bhakti Yoga. When Bhakti was diminishing, they were the ones that brought it back. And there are stories of these Alvars, many, many beautiful stories. And one of the other Alvar that is very, very famous is King Kulchekhar, right? Who has written the Mukundmala Stotra, very, very famous. So many, many other pastimes of these alvars are famous. But this Vishnu Chitta had this little baby girl, this little daughter, and he named her Andal. And this Andal, as you know, went on to become one of the great alvars who spread the tradition of bhakti. She wrote so many poems. She was a great poet. She wrote so many beautiful poems glorifying the Lord and which show her devotion to the Lord in a very, very, sharing just like our Vaishnava bhajans, right? How we see the Vaishnava bhajans have all the philosophy and yet the love of the Lord in them. Similarly, these poems of Andal were also like that. So, Andal also became a very great devotee. And when she was older, she used to have reciprocations with the Ranganathan deity down south, right? Ranganathan, from Ranganathan temple. So once some people from the temple came to tell Andal that our Lord Ranganathan has said that he wants to marry you. He wants to marry Andal. And Andal immediately went, and that was her last day. That was her disappearance day because that day she merged into the deity of Ranganathan. So with that marriage ceremony, she entered into the deity of Ranganathan and went back to Godhead. And Vishnu Chitta also went back to Godhead. But this great perfection of life, having a child that was such a pure devotee of the Lord, you started from neophyte and becoming a pure devotee of the Lord with one simple service. It happened with one simple service of offering a garland to the Lord every day. And that inspiration for that one simple service came from hearing one Srimad Bhagavatam class that he heard from the proper authority in a temple. He heard the pastime of the Lord and realized that Lord can be pleased by offering him a garland. And Vishnu Chitta took it to heart and became a pure devotee of the Lord, spiritual master of a king, had beautiful reciprocal relationships with his deity, had a pure devotee as his daughter, Andal, who's so famous. There are books about her, about Andal. And there are many, many pastimes of Andal. I'll tell you one very short pastime. One day when Vishnu Chitta was going to offer garland to the Lord, right? He used to do that every day. He saw that Andal was wearing the garland, and she is that garland that was supposed to be offered to the Lord. She wore it herself, and she is looking at the mirror and doing like this. How does this garland look on me? And Vishnu Chitta became very upset with her. Andal, don't you know I offer a garland to the Lord every day? And we cannot accept it without offering it to him first. You have to offer the garland to the Lord and then you can accept it. How did you do that? Why did you take it yourself? So he said, okay, I have no other garlands to make. All the flowers are dried up or gone, and so today we cannot offer a garland to the Lord. So he was very upset. So he said, okay, I'll make it up next day. So next day he offered the garland. And this time he was very careful that he would keep this away from Andal so she does not get to it and does not wear it. And he offered it directly to Lord. As he was offering it, suddenly there was a voice. Now, the deity has reciprocated with him many, many times. But suddenly there was a voice. Stop! What are you doing? And Vishnu Chitta got scared. He said, Lord, I'm offering you garland like I do every day. So Vishnu said, but you did not offer a garland to me yesterday. What happened? He said, he told the Lord, you know that my daughter Andal, she's just a child, so please forgive her offense, but she already wore the garland and contaminated it, so I could not give it to you. I cannot offer something that has touched a jiva. So I have to give you a pure garland. So Vishnu deity said, the only reason I accept garland from you is because Andal accepts it every day before you give it to me. And and then I accept it. So do not give me ever a garland that has not been first accepted by Andal. So give it to her, let her accept it, and then I will accept this garland from you. So he said, every day Andal has been wearing that garland before you offer it to me. And that is why I was accepting it, because she's my pure devotee. Again reminds me of Shabri, right? How Lord Ram was eating her jhuta bear, and actually those bear, it's called kapita fruit, was tastier to Lord Ram than if it was just offered to him directly. So such a pure devotee that Vishnu Chitta was able to have. So this is the power of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam class. You never know what may inspire you. So we should increase our hearing, improve, hear more and more as much as we can about Krishna's pastimes and his devotees. They're very, very nectarian and they nourish the soul. It's the story I wanted to share. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji, you have a question or realization?
Mataji, no, just need answer. You said Kulshekhar Raja composed. What did he compose?
Mukund Mala Stotra.
Mukund Mala.
It is about 50 verses, I think 50 verses. It is very beautifully called a garland of verses that glorify the Lord very, very beautifully.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice story, Mataji. Very beautiful. Importance of listening.
Prabhuji, you can hear this story from Radhanath Maharaj directly if you want. The video is called Surrender is Simple. It's in two parts, part one and part two. If you want it in more, if you liked it, if you want it proper nectarian coming from him directly, then you can watch that video.
It is not proper. It will be nectarian anyway. It is proper from you. We already heard it. But yes, I'll. So you said surrender. It's simple.
Surrender is simple. There are two parts, part one and part two. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, Mataji. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, Mataji, you're sharing something, Sheetal Mataji?
No, Mataji, I just remembered that I had heard the story in his great Prabhulas Prabhuji's class. I think he also has narrated this
Oh,
story.
really? Okay. I was
Yes, yes.
thinking
I
that.
remembered. Yes, I remembered from the part where you said she started wearing the garland.
Yes.
Uh,
Oh,
Arnab,
okay.
that reminded me. Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes, Mataji, this is
Yes.
a very, very famous lecture of Maharaj. So his disciples especially would know very, very, very well. Okay, anybody has any realizations they want to share or questions? If not, we can move on to some Bhagavad Gita reading. Yes, Anita Mataji, please share.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Yes. So, what Vishnu Chitta, right? His name was. He was hearing about Sudama offering the garland not just to Krishna but all the devotees also, like all the companion who was there with Krishna, like Balram and everybody else. But here he was only offering to Krishna, but by default his daughter was also sharing that. So probably that part he missed, but at least he was paying the dedication and God was taking care of the other part. And at the end of the story we see that he got to know this also, that whatever he was missing, it was taken care by Lord himself.
Yes, Mataji, yes. Yes, for us, the lesson is that Krishna is definitely pleased when we serve not only him, but our Guru Tattva and his devotees and Vaishnavas. Okay. And compassion, like remember the three things that Sudama asked from Krishna, right? Three things. So compassion to all living entities, compassion or loving relationship with his devotees. Those are very, very important. And then Krishna Prem is of course the highest, but if we have those other two things, then Krishna Prem also follows. Okay, so shall we read? So we had read till verse 27. So 26th was that verse where Krishna said that this is where we had actually stopped. That so think about this verse. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Isn't this line completely fitting Vishnu Chitta? He was not very conversant in spiritual knowledge, but he began to worship the Supreme Person about hearing about him from others. He started rendering him service, right? And they transcend the path of birth and death. So very, very many lessons there are in scriptures where devotees have shown with their lives how one can follow this instructions of Bhagavad Gita. Let's read actually 27, 28, 29 together. They're all similar message. So let's start from here. We're reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita 13.27 Kshetra Kshetragya Vibhag Yog. Let's recite 13.27. यावत् सञ्जायते किञ्चित्
यावत् सञ्जयते किञ्चित्
सत्त्वं स्थावरजङ्गमम्
सत्त्वं स्थावरजङ्गमम्
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञसंयोगात्
क्षेत्रज्ञ संयोगात्
क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञसंयोगात्
तद्विधि भरतर्षभा
तद्विधि
तद्विधि
भरतर्षभा.
Okay, can anyone read this translation?
I can read, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
O chief of the Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. Hari Bol.
Let's read two more. 13.28 Samam sarveshu bhuteshu
समं सर्वेषु भूतेषु
तिष्ठन्तं परमेश्वरम्
तिष्ठन्तं
तिष्ठन्तं
परमेश्वरम्
परमेश्वरम्
विनश्यतस्व अविनश्यन्तम्
विनश्यतस्त्वाविनश्यतम्
या पश्यति स पश्यति
यः
या
पश्यति स
पश्यति स
पश्यति.
Okay, can anyone read this?
I can read, Mataji.
Yes.
One who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies and who understands that neither the soul nor the soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed actually sees.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, we'll read one more. 13.29 Samam pashyan hi sarvatra
Tamam
समं पश्यन् हि सर्वत्र समावस्थितम् ईश्वरम्.
Ishwaram
नाहि नस्ति आत्मनात्मानम्
नाहि नश्यति आत्मा आत्मानं.
ततो याति परां गतिम्
ततो याति परां गतिम्.
Please read.
I can read, Mataji.
Yes.
Haribol. One who sees the supersoul equally present everywhere in every living being does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus he approaches the transcendental destination. Haribol.
Haribol. Okay. So these are the three verses we read, 27, 28, 29. So let's take one after another. They are similar message. So Krishna is talking about seeing the super soul within us, like within a body and everywhere. In first verse 27, he's saying that uh, everything, whether it's moving, non-moving, whatever is there in this material world, everything is a combination of spirit and matter, right? Field of activity, field means kshetra, and knower of the field means kshetragya. Remember, this chapter is called kshetra kshetragya vibhagyo, right? So kshetra and kshetragya. So Kshetra is matter, right? Kshetra or body is matter, and Kshetragya is the spirit. Kshetragya is the knower, either individual knower or supreme knower, the two knowers. So it is a combination. Everything you see is a combination of spirit and matter, or Kshetra and Kshetragya, right? Whatever it is, not only humans, animals, birds, plants, even immovable things, right? Plants and trees, everything. And super soul is in everything. Super soul is pervading into everything, even things that are not living entities, right? Into everything, whether it's mountains, rivers, whatever Prakriti is there. Prakriti is also conscious, right? We always say this, right? Prakriti is always conscious. We should not exploit material nature, mother nature. Why? Because she's also pervaded by Paramatma. There is spirit inside her also, right? So everything is pervaded by Paramatma, and the living entities have Paramatma and Jivatma in them. So everything is a combination of matter and spirit. So this, I think this is pretty straightforward. The next one he's saying, so the person who can see that there is super soul accompanying the individual soul, right? There is Paramatma with the Jivatma in all the bodies, um, and who understands that neither of them is destructible, but the body is destructible. That person actually sees, right? So the person who understands, so basically all these three verses are trying to tell us the difference between spirit and matter, that we are spirit soul, we are not this body, but the body is alive because of having spirit within it, okay? And a person who understands that in every body which is destructible, in this destructible body, there is a Jivatma and a Paramatma, both. And neither of them, neither Paramatma nor Jivatma are destructible. That person is a true seer. That person sees everything. Right? So it and it also ties in with the next verse. I'm just explaining the basic meaning of each verse, then we'll go into more depth. And in this third one, Krishna is saying, so this person who sees Paramatma equally present everywhere in all living entities, he knows that whether it's animal, plant, anybody, everybody has Paramatma inside them. I have Paramatma inside me. He will not degrade himself with this mind, meaning he will not waste his time on just sense gratification or get deviated by the distractions caused by this mind. He knows that the object of knowledge is that Paramatma. So he will stay focused on that Paramatma. He will not let himself be degraded by the influence of our contaminated mind. He and that person will approach the transcendental destination, Paramgatim. Such a person will approach the transcendental destination of Paramgatim. Okay? So that is an actual seer. Actual seer meaning that kind of person is a self-realized soul. So let's take a little bit deeper into all these three verses. So, so this kind of self-realized person, right, is the one who has the proper knowledge, who understands for the basic thing from which everything starts. What is that basic thing? That we are not this body, we are the soul, right?
We
So
are the living entities.
we are the living entity. We are the soul. We are spirit. We are not this matter. We are the spirit. We are not this body. We are the soul. That is the first thing one has to understand. And you may think that we keep saying this over and over again. Why does Krishna or why does Prabhupada keep saying this over and over again in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam? We keep hearing this message many, many times. Because although we say it, I am saying it. You are saying it, but none of us are actually truly in that position, especially me. I don't know about others, but I am not in a position where I can truly say that I am not this body, right? We are always acting with our bodily identification, in the manner of a female, in the manner of our, or an Indian or a doctor or whatever. We are very, very attached to our bodily identification, right? We are very, very attached to our, the body, to our identifications or bodily conception, okay? And that is the whole problem. So a self-realized soul is very, very stable on this point, that I am not this body. The identification that I have is very temporary, and I should not have this identification with the body. I should do my duty according to the body given to me right now, but with this body, those identifications, those duties will end, right? Like we were talking about before, after the song, I was saying that we have to start again in the next life. We have to start from zero in the next life. Somebody may be very, very proud that, oh, I have completed my postdoc, PhD, my MD, my whatever degrees there are, BSc or FSc or PSc, whatever you have completed, right? Very, very proud of those degrees, positions that we have attained. But that position is not the jiva's position. That position is not the atma's position. That is the position of this body. And the problem of the atma is it is feeling proud because it thinks that this is his position. The jivatma is failing to understand that that position that you have gotten, that name, that fame, that reputation, the money, has been acquired only by the body. And as soon as this body ends, all of those things will go away immediately. And when you get the next birth, you will get the next birth again from zero. You have to start from nursery again and build back again the whole thing, right? So this is a very, very important, I mean, this is the basics of self-realization. But it is very hard to really understand. That is why it keeps coming back. Prabhupada keeps saying this over and over again. So a self-realized person understands that. And he also knows that the super soul is accompanying the jiva in that body. Okay. So, and we talked about this before, our senses should be controlled by the mind. Our mind should be controlled by our intelligence. Intelligence should be controlled by the jiva, right? By the jivatma. And jivatma should allow itself to be controlled by the paramatma. Okay. Everybody remembers that we talked about it. You can open that document if you want to revisit. So a self-realized person acknowledges, first of all, that he is spirit. Secondly, he acknowledges the presence of Paramatma within him. And whatever he does, he looks towards Paramatma for guidance. Our subtle body or mind should control the sense organs. Our intelligence should control the mind. The jivatma should control the mind, the intelligence, and the Paramatma should control the jiva. But we don't let the Paramatma control us. We have our own free will. So we just do whatever we want, right? We just desire whatever we want. But if we just looked at the Paramatma for his guidance, then our desires will be aligned with his desires. Okay. So a self-realized person understands that super soul is also pervading within everybody. And also, since he knows that it is pervading within everybody, he does not treat people differently. He does not causes discrimination between the people, right? Based on their religion, based on their caste, based on their color, based on the gender, right? A self-realized soul is equal to different people because he knows that they are all parts and parcels of Krishna. They all have Paramatma within them, even an animal. So such a person cannot kill animals, cannot exploit animals, cannot exploit other jivas, right? Cannot cause harm to other jivas. He will not create discrimination based on their current body, right? Okay. But we have to understand, he will acknowledge the bodily difference. He will not discriminate according to that, but he will acknowledge the bodily difference. Because a question might come, So a lion comes in front of me, he also has Paramatma within him. So should I bow down to him and should I just try to feed him something? Should I offer him a garland? No, you have to understand that he within his bodily identification in his false ego, he's a lion. Bound by that false ego, he is going to kill you. So you have to run. So so acknowledge the difference between different bodily identifications, but not harm or exploit other entities based on that difference, right? So, for example, like a sannyasi or somebody is not supposed to associate with women that much, right? Now, somebody may say they are learned, self-realized soul. Why are they not associating with women are humans? Why are they not associating with women, right? So, who can answer this conundrum and reconcile it with this statement that we should treat people equally and all that? Let's hear from somebody. Athar is trying to share, huh?
He was saying that, Mataji was saying when you gave lions example, he was saying that yes, in front of dog we can do that. In front of
Madhuji, I'm very scared of dogs also, so I will probably run away even from dogs.
I'm the same, Mataji.
Okay,
But
I think
I'm sure the kids are different.
Nirbhay Prabhu is sharing something. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Um, so, a couple of things come to my mind with that. One is that they don't feel the great personalities. They don't feel that they are that elevated, that that they are at the level that they can not different. They look at everybody the same way. So they feel that they can fall down and they should follow the rules and regulations. Plus, to set an example, like for sannyasis, um, it is said that they're not supposed to associate. So, set an example for others because you don't want others to, follow them and who may not be at that level and and fall down. So, those are some things that come to my mind.
Yes. Yes, I think you answered everything. The only additional thing I would add to that is to follow the cultural norms also. That undue engagement with women. The reason is, like you said, first of all, they don't consider themselves very elevated. They always think, like Prabhupada always used to pray very hard to Krishna, that I may not fall under the influence of Maya, right? You pray to Krishna very hard. So the pure devotees actually don't think that they are very elevated. So they always think that they can have a fall down. So you want to set the best standards where you are in a male body right now. A female can definitely cause allurement, right? Because you are bound by the bodily identification. They don't want to say that we are so elevated that we can freely mingle with female and not get distracted. So you have to, so definitely in a male and female body, you have to maintain certain distance and certain cultural standards where you are not freely mingling with another woman. And that is why the culture of addressing every woman as Mataji came, right? So that the male devotees will never have any kind of bad allurement towards any female devotee because even though we are practicing devotional service, we are still neophytes. We can still get allured or get deviated by the Maya. So, to show respect towards women and whatever body one has attained, we have to function within the limitations of that body, right? We have to, like, if I'm doing my weights today, if I'm lifting weights, yeah, right? Nirbhay Prabhu can lift probably, I don't know, 20, 30 pounds. I can barely lift 15 pounds or 12 pounds, right? So I cannot say, oh, I have Paramatma inside me. Why can't I lift the 20-pound weight also? I also have Paramatma inside me. Why doesn't he help me lift the 20-pound weight? No, we are bound in this body. So we are bound by the limitations caused by this body as well. So we have to recognize and acknowledge those limitations that are caused by the body, like the example of flying. he's limited by the fact that he is going to kill you, he's going to eat you. So that is his false ego. Similarly, we are bound within the psycho-physical nature of this body, which will pose some limitation. That is why we are trying to get rid of this body, right, and be unlimited. So we are right now limited because of the restrictions caused by the body, and we have to respect those differences that are seen in different bodies. So a sannyasi will be, yes, revered a little differently. A grahastha will be treated a little bit differently, but no, but in general, everybody's compassionate towards each other, right? If somebody is speaking English, they don't speak Hindi at all. I can't just start speaking to them in Hindi or Marathi or something. No, this is a restriction caused by the body that they cannot speak that other language, right? Paramatma within them knows all languages, but because of that body, they are able to speak only that particular language right now. So I cannot start speaking to them in some other language and say, oh, you should understand it because you also have Paramatma within you, right? So we have to acknowledge the bodily differences, but also respect and treat everybody with compassion at the same time. Yes, Prabhuji, are you sharing something? Please share.
Yes, Mataji, I mean, nothing to add. I just, the example came to my head why sannyasi are still have to follow, because the history is teaching us that no matter however self-controlled you are, you can get, fall, you can have a fall down. And we know the story of Menaka and Vishwamitra.
Yes, we both.
So Vishwamitra, who had so much of a great control just because of Menaka, so again, when Prabhu wants, the Maya can control you. So we have to surrender to Prabhu and say, yes, protect me from Maya every day, every minute, every second, and we have to follow the rules as long as we are in this body.
Yes. Can anyone give any other example, just like Prabhuji shared, of some great soul that had a fall down? Yes, Mataji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nicely shared.
Not about the fall down personality, but the story of where even Shivji got bewildered in the Mohini avatar when
Yes.
Vishnuji took Mohini
Yes.
avatar.
When Moini Murti
Shivji
came.
ran up Mohini Murti.
Lord Shiva and Moini Murti, that pastime Mataji is mentioning. Anybody else? Let's see.
Shobari
Yes.
Muni.
Yes, Nirbhay Prabhu. Shobari Muni. Yes, Shobari Muni was doing tapasya, right? Can you share that quickly?
Hare Krishna. So yes, so Shabari Muni is one of the, he was a great saint who was doing tapasya for a lot of time, like thousands and thousands of years underwater. And so he was underwater and doing tapasya, and he just happened to see a fish and two fishes mating. And when he saw that, then lust developed, and he actually then got into the, he got the desire that I should also get married. So he got married, and there is actually a longer detailed pastime that he basically went to the king, and his one daughter, the king married all his daughters because he had so much of tapasya that he changed his body so that he would look very nice to them. And and eventually he married so many daughters of the king, and got the kingdom and ruled and everything. So from being a tapasvi who has been performing tapasya for tens of thousands of years, he went completely into Maya. So
Right.
that's one example.
Yes, thank you. Okay, yes, then Mataji. Thank you, Nirbhay Prabhu.
Athar wanted to share, Mataji. Go ahead.
For Brahma,
Okay, yeah, we're talking about Brahma Vimohan Leela.
yeah.
Okay, yes, thank you, Athar. Very good. Yeah, so you all shared very nicely where some great saints were, or austere people were distracted by by lust, right? But then there are people like Arjuna. Arjuna went to Swarg himself, Swarg Lok, and which Apsara was that came? can't remember. Anyways, he was, he called her Mataji. You're like my mother. You're Lord Indra's, in his care. Yes, Avni, please, you're sharing.
Yeah. No. Ramba? I don't know what it is.
I think Ramba.
Maybe it's not Ramba.
One of them, yes. And so Arjuna was not distracted though, right? That's why she cursed him that you will spend 1 year. Well, she told him that you will spend, that you will now become a eunuch. But Lord Indra mitigated the the curse a little, and he said you will become eunuch for 1 year. And then
Urvashi, yes.
Urvashi, okay, Urvashi. Okay. Yes, thank you. And then Haridas Thakur, right? When I'm forgetting many names today. The lady that came to distract Haridas Thakur, I forgot her name. So she was also trying to distract Haridas Thakur, and actually he ended up making her a devotee. She became one of the great devotees of the Lord. She shaved her head. She had such beautiful long hair. She shaved her head and started chanting 192 rounds every day after that. 192 rounds every day after that. So he gave that cave in which he used to chant, he left. He gave that Tulsi Maharani to her to take care of. He left that cave and she started chanting in that cave. So she became a pure devotee of the Lord. So yes, we have to acknowledge the bodily differences, but we shouldn't treat people differently or like disrespect or be hurtful to anybody. We should have compassion to all living entities, right? You know the 5.18 very well. Vidya Vinay Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shuni Chayavashva Pakeja Pandita Samadarshina. That Pandits or Brahmins treat everybody equally. They have some darshi, right? So and then in this verse, let's take that verse again. So he's saying, and he understands that those are indestructible within this destructible body. So that is a true seer. The next one that we had read, he said, Krishna said that super soul is equally present everywhere, right? Super soul enters into everything. Imagine, you can compare this to like electricity entering into all the lamps in the room, right? Electricity is lighting up all the lamps, right? So similarly, super soul, which is basically an expansion from Krishna, is also entering into all the jivas. And so that person understands that the body is meant for us to look towards Paramatma for guidance on what to do with this body, not degrade this body by sense gratification or by giving into the demands of the mind. The mind is the main problem, right? We understand that, right? Chanchal man. Navya, are you sharing something? No? Okay. So in this way, he will have supreme destination. He will control his mind, his senses, and achieve the Parambati. So let's see. Can we read maybe one or two more and then we'll try to stop? Yes, let's read next two together. Number 30th. Prakrite vacha karmani
Devancha karmani
Karmani
kriyamanani sarvasha
kriyamanani
Nani
sarvasha
Sarvasha
ya pashyati tathatmanam
यः
yapasya
Pashyati Tathatmanam
akartaram sapashyati.
akartaram
Akartaram
sapashyati.
Sapashyati
Okay. Let's read one more. 31. यदा भूता पृथग्भावाम्
यदा
यदा
Abhuta
भूता पृथग्भावम्
Prathavam
एकास्तम् अनुपश्यति
एकास्तं
Ekastham
अनुपश्यति
Anupasyati
तत एव च विस्तारम्
तत
तथा
Tata
एव च
Eva Cha
विस्तारम्
Vistam
ब्रह्म सम्पद्यते तदा.
ब्रह्म
Brahma
सम्पाद्यते
Sampadyate
तदा
Tata
Okay, let's read the translations. Can somebody read number 30th and then 31st?
Mataji, can I read
Yes.
30th? Text 30. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. Well,
Nibo, can someone read the next one?
Hare Krishna, I can read.
Yes.
When a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Actually, 30th is a very short purport, and every single line of this purport is important. So let's read the purport. Can somebody read it?
Can read Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
The purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
This body is made by material nature under the direction of the super soul, and whatever activities are going on in respect to one's body are not his doing. Whatever one is supposed to do, either for happiness or for distress, one is forced to do because of the bodily constitution. The self, however, is outside all these bodily activities. This body is given according to one's past desires. To fulfill desires, one is given the body, with which he acts accordingly. Practically speaking, the body is a machine designed by the Supreme Lord to fulfill desires. Because of desires, one is put into difficult circumstances to suffer or to enjoy. This transcendental vision of the living entity, when developed, makes one separate from bodily activity. One who has such a vision is an actual seer. Hari Bol.
Bol. So this is very important. We've read this kind of verse before in third chapter, right? Prakrite kriyamanani guna karmani sarvasha ahankara vimulatma karta hamiti manyate. Meaning that the person who understands that all activities are performed by the body. So it is saying that soul has nothing to do. There is no work. Just like for Krishna, it is said there is no work meant for Krishna. Similarly, for soul also, there is no work meant for soul. Soul is just stuck in this body and has to do work because of the body, because of the bodily identification, because it is thinking that I am this body, so it is having to do those things that are designated to that body. So, and the body is created by the material nature. So, those activities are actually being performed by the body created by material nature. But the self, the soul, actually does nothing. That person understands the true knowledge. That person actually sees, is a true seer. So, Prabhupada has nicely explained that. So, let's take an example for this. Let's say, and then we'll stop after this. Let's say, okay, I am saying I am a doctor. Is that true or false? Those of you know who know me. Navya is saying what? Thumbs down
You are a doctor in body, Mataji.
in this body. Yes.
At bodily level, yes.
So I am me. The jiva is not a doctor, right? Right.
Yes.
The body is, right? Okay. Now, if the jiva starts to think, let's take this the true situation of me. The jiva is thinking that I am doctor. Jiva is thinking this body is me, so I am a doctor, right? What will I do for this position of doctor? Let's say this is my only position, right? For this position, I will do many things. I will work too much. I will for fame. I'll work for fame. I'll try to get more and more money. I will work extra hours. I will go to all kinds of conferences. I will try to acquire all kind of skills because this is. I am thinking this is me, and to elevate this position, I will work really hard towards that position, right? Because my position is that I'm a doctor, so I'm going to work really hard to increase that position, to maintain, to expand that position, right? I will work really hard. I'll spend all my time, energy, resources, everything towards that position, right? But this is a false identity, right? I am not that. I am a jiva who's actually a servant of the Lord. If I was a self-realized person, I would understand that this is my bodily identification. I just have to maintain that identification and work, do my prescribed duty, just what I'm supposed to do my job, take care of people, also my other body, take care of other bodily identifications that I have at the same time. But my true position is that I'm servant of the Lord. So mainly work for that, expand that position the most, spend most time, energy, resources on my true position, which is that I'm servant of the Lord, which is that I'm a jiva. This position that I have identified as that I'm a doctor, that position is only for this time being. And as soon as there is a war or the bomb drops, that gone, it's gone, right? Or if there is some hurricane, some tornado, whatever, that position of being a doctor, it's gone. But the jiva, its position of being a servant of the Lord is eternal. It is always there. So that is where I should put my money on. That is where I should spend my time, my energy, my resources mostly. But since I'm in this body, I cannot neglect the bodily identification. I have to do those prescribed duties according to the dharma, according to the scriptures, according to the guidance given by the Guru Sadhu Shastra. So I can balance, so I should balance between both, and slowly I should increase my spiritual quotient more and decrease the material workload and material requirements to minimum. Yes, right? So eventually you can, but for now Prabhuji is saying balance them, right? So we try to balance everything. We should know that our correct position is to be a spiritual entity, the spirit soul, right? I'm not this body, I'm not this matter. The material nature has given me this identification because of its various influences, whether my karma, my desires, other people in my life, their karma, their desires, everything has brought me to this circumstantial position where this body has taken the role of, let's say, a mother, a spouse, whatever, a doctor, or whatever other things, right? So that is what is being said in this verse here, that actually the soul does nothing. So soul did not do anything. Soul only desires. And if the soul was that of a self-realized person, he will look more at Krishna so that his desires will be in line with Krishna. So that when he'll have more spiritual desires, not too many material desires, not always to be working for this body, but to be working more in his service or his devotee's service or the Guru's service. So that will be the Krishna's desire if we looked at him. And the next one that we read is very similar, that the sensible man. So sensible man here means a self-realized person, right? So he understands that different identities that people have achieved, like I was giving my example. But so let's say example of somebody else, of Anita Mataji, right, doing a job or whatever. Somebody being a male, somebody being a female, somebody being a certain caste, a certain religion, a certain gender, right, a certain color, whatever. So those different identities are due to different material bodies. That is what a self-realized soul understands. And he knows that the jivas are expanded everywhere in this creation, right? They're all parts and parcels of Krishna. They're all being expanded into this creation as spiritual entities. But if you remember from our very early discussion, the jiva comes in contact with the ahankar, which is a very important ingredient of the material nature, ahankar. And as soon as jiva, matter, and ahankar mix, this bodily identification comes. And we are not able to get rid of this bodily identification because the ahankar and atma are so intertwined together. The false ego is what is keeping us bound to this body, where we are thinking we are this body, and that is why we suffer. So actually in one of the next shlokas you will see, it will come that just like it says jiva has nothing to do, there is no work meant for jiva. It will also be said that jiva has nothing to suffer. Jiva does not suffer at all, right? Whatever suffers is our body that suffers, right? Jiva does not suffer. Okay. Uh, so in this way, we are just bound to this body. We have identified ourselves so strongly with this body that we are not able to understand our true position of being a independent spirit soul, which is part and parcel of Krishna, which is not part of this matter. Okay. Imagine, let's take an analogy. Think of this, that you are having a dream, a bad dream, a nightmare. In the nightmare, somebody is trying to kill you. right? And you start feeling very scared, right? You start maybe even sweating, you start having physical symptoms, you start sweating, you start shaking, moving, thrashing about because you think somebody's holding you down and suffocating, huh? This is a nightmare, right? There's a nightmare going on. But is actually anybody doing anything to you? Are you suffering actually? Is there any real suffering going on or no? No, right? Yeah. So no, the jiva is the person is actually, I'm not actually suffering, but in my nightmare, I have so identified myself with that nightmare. I'm thinking this nightmare is real, and that feeling, this perception that this nightmare is real is making me suffer. So I'm suffering, but once I wake up, jeev jago, right? Wake up from this nightmare. Once I wake up from this nightmare, then I will realize that, hey, I was never suffering. Nobody was ever suffocating me, actually. The true me. Nobody was suffering. This was just an illusion that was being created by my mind. But I was identifying so much with that illusion that I thought I was suffering. So in this way, the Jivatma is identifying so much with this body that when there is any loss or harm or hurt to the body, it feels distress. And when there is any good things, happiness, joy, fame, health, anything like that happens, it feels happiness. But the self-realized soul understands that this is just an illusion for a very temporary time being caused by my body. I am not actually suffering. I'm not actually even happy with these things that are happening. The jiva is actually not relating to any of these things. So I like that nightmare analogy a lot. I think that explains the jiva's position in this material world. There are many other analogies and things we'll discuss next time because Krishna will continue on the same theme. The theme basically is how jiva has got entangled in this maya, right? This was a question actually asked by two very big personalities from our scriptures. One personality was Vidura. Vidura asked this question from Maitreya Rishi. How come Jiva is suffering so bad in this Maya? How come Jiva is entangled in this Maya? And this question was also asked by Sanatan Goswami from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we'll see what the answer to those questions are, why we are entangled here. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for listening. Let's see if anybody has any realizations, questions, points they want to share. So, yes, Ravi Prabhu is asking everybody if newcomers have any questions or realizations, doubts that they want to ask, please clarify everything. Kundan Prabhu, Sanu Prabhu, Priya Mataji, Balmukund Prabhu. Anybody has any questions? Or Priyanka Mataji, Manisha Mataji? Kundan Prabhu, you want to share any realizations or? I know this is a very technical chapter, but this is actually basic understandings. This is where there's a prelim understanding where the self-realization starts. And then Jiva starts from understanding himself, then he understands Paramatma, and finally he understands the Bhagwan, the Supreme Person himself. And that understanding of Bhagwan actually comes in Srimad Bhagavatam. We try to understand everybody together. So that's why we take the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam, like that story I told was about Bhagwan himself, his pastimes, his names, forms, qualities, pastimes, his devotees. We try to talk about them to develop attraction towards the Supreme Person. But the knowledge about Jiva and Paramatma can be a little intricate. And then when it comes to the knowledge about Bhagwan, it is fun. It is a lot of pastimes and nice stories. It is bliss then. Yes, Murli Prabhuji, would you like to share anything? I haven't heard anything from you today. Or Nana Prabhu, please share anything.
Mataji, you're talking about Vishnu Chintan. He is known as Periyalvar. He's also one of the Alvar.
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, he's also one of the Alvar. And they wrote that Tirupavai, that is, will be every day, it will be read in the Dharmas month, every day in the morning.
Very bold. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for sharing that.
Haribol
one of
Prabhuji,
my
that was a question I had in my mind since Dhanurmas, and I had
right.
forgotten who had written the Tirumai. Thank you, Prabhuji, for telling me.
The
My
Tirumai.
aunt, she reads that every day in the temple, in the every Dhanurmas Mataji in our town.
I know it is the Tirumai is full of devotional mellows, very very high level of devotional ecstasies in there, and it is amazing that that is easily accessible to masses like this. Yes, Mataji, are you sharing something? Sutil Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. I just had a question, which I mean I understand, maybe just for the benefit of the newcomers. The 13.29 it says that one who sees the super soul equally present in every being actually sees. He does not degrade himself by his believing mind, and thus he attains the spiritual world. So that by itself is not like just by that knowledge, just having that knowledge does not qualify you to enter the spiritual world. It's a gradual process, right? From there on. Is that right, Mataji?
Yes, yes, Mataji. Yeah, you're 100% right. And as you know, we are reading second canto that the process is very, very mentioned in detail, actually, right? That
Yes.
the first, this is the first step of self-realization to understand that there is Paramatma within us and look towards Paramatma and start, sitting in dhyan or chanting his name and focus on Paramatma within. And then the person becomes eligible, he develops a taste for spirituality, for spiritual knowledge, so that he will start, and Krishna will start reciprocating. Actually, yesterday only we read, Mataji, one of the verses, the whole process is given very nicely. That once someone starts focusing on Paramatma, they start developing attraction towards spiritual process. They start relating to scriptures, to devotees, and they start attracting mercy of Krishna. And then Krishna starts reciprocating, starts revealing himself more and more to him. In this way, the person gradually advances in bhakti. He started with Gyan. This is Gyan Yoga part, right? So when he realizes Paramatma, this is the Gyan Yoga part. Then he develops bhakti slowly, and then he reaches pure devotional service and can enter the supreme destination. Yes, Mataji, you're absolutely right. Anybody else would like to share anything or clarify, correct anything? Nana Prabhu, are you sharing something?
नहीं माता जी इच्छा था भागवतम से थोड़ी स्टोरीज जो है हर टाइम एवरी संडे थोड़ा थोड़ा आप एक छोटी छोटी स्टोरी रिलेट करते जाइए बहुत अच्छी तरह से समझता है वो
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Bhagavatam is full of stories. We'll have more stories for sure. We'll have kids also prepare more stories. Okay, so let's start chanting.